spark in the air, a melody, a dream to share. Through castles tall, through skies so wide, the music's where the magic hides.
A whistle, a hum, a drum beats call.
The songs we love,
They build it all. The music behind the magic. Oh, where every story starts to glow.
Hello and welcome to episode 56 of the Music Behind the Magic podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Goodman, and I am here to celebrate with all of you the magic of Disney songs, scores, and soundtracks from the movies to the parks. Now, on the podcast, we talk a lot about the emotional power that Disney music is able to convey, and most of the time, we experience that power passively on a screen or listening to our headphones. But the real magic of Disney music happens when you're able to experience it live. And throughout the Disney parks, there are truly exceptional musicians who play that music directly and unfiltered to the guests and create a stunning connection. Today, we're joined by one of those musicians, Michael Mastroianni, who you have likely seen at EPCOT, Hoop-Dee-Doo Musical Review, or at the River Roost Lounge. Michael talks about his musical background and his experience creating live musical magic at Walt Disney World and on the Disney Cruise Line. Before we begin, if you are enjoying this podcast, and I truly hope you are, I would only ask that you continue to share it with the Disney music fans in your life so our audience and community can continue to grow and thrive. And if you happen to think I've earned it, please leave a good rating and a quick review so others can find it as well. I also just love hearing from all the listeners all across the world. So if there's a topic or a guest you want to hear about, please drop me a line and let me know via email at jonathan@musicbehindthemagic.com or message me on Instagram. Also, please feel free to join our Facebook community and subscribe to our newsletter at musicbehindthemagic.com/newsletter. So, as we kick off today's show, sit back, think about your favorite live Disney parks musicals or musical experiences, and enjoy this episode of the Music Behind the Magic podcast. We are so pleased to be joined today by Michael Mastroianni. Michael is a versatile multi-instrumentalist and vocalist who lives in the Orlando area. He's a graduate of the very prestigious Berklee College of Music and earned a bachelor's degree of music in contemporary writing and production. He is currently working as a musician all across Walt Disney World and freelancing as a musician and singer. You can see him at the iconic Hoop-Dee-Doo Musical Review at the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground, the River Roost Lounge at Disney's Port Orleans Riverside Resort Hotel, and at various venues across EPCOT and Walt Disney World in general. Michael, it is so nice to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan. This is an absolute pleasure. I've always loved getting to talk about Disney music. It is a blast, and it is some of the best music out there. So I got to tell you, it is a dream doing what I do right now.
It is, and I cannot wait to hear about your experience and how you get to do it. And like I said, be at the front line of that, really the front line of the magic. So really excited to chat with you about it. So
Thanks, man.
maybe the best way to start, you have a pretty serious musical pedigree. You talk about your musical origin story and your path to becoming a real working professional musician.
Well, goodness gracious, it is a long story. So bear with me. I will try to make it as short as I can. So my parents met working in a music store, actually, in high school. My dad played with a high school just garage band, but he learned tons of tunes from across the 40s all the way up to the 80s. They graduated high school in the late 80s. And through that music store that brought them together, they were able to get discounts on musical equipment just for fun. My dad is a lawyer and mortgage guy and does tons of that stuff and is also, though, a music connoisseur.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, there was a drum set in the house. There was a fantastic top-of-the-line Roland keyboard, Fender guitar, and a bass, and all sorts of stuff that I could play around with. And the first one that I remember playing was the drums.
Huh.
There's some videos from
Parents love
very
that
early
one.
on.
I'm sure parents.
They tolerated it at best. So when my attention turned to the piano, they took advantage of that. But it was great though, because the local piano studio in New York, where I'm from, in the town, was called the Joy of Music.
Hmm.
And the most important thing that my teacher, Marvi Weigensberg, most important thing that she taught me was that you weren't just playing the notes, you were feeling the notes.
Hmm.
So I became very intimately aware of how important the visual is to what you're playing, and how important, not just, pushing on the keys and getting the right notes is, but how much the flair and the dramatics can matter. And I took to that very quickly. And I started writing music when I was 7.
Huh.
I not something I've really pursued because it's a very difficult path to go down, but I wrote classical music and I wrote some songs. I can't say they were particularly good, but it was still an important exercise for me. But as most kids' rite of passage is, my parents took me to Disney World, Walt Disney World, a few times growing up. And there was one particular trip. It was 2003 or maybe 2002. It was 2002, where I just locked in with the electrical water pageant
Huh.
from that's been running since day one at Walt Disney
Yeah, of
World.
course.
It's a staple, and it plays at all. I'm sure you know, and most of the listeners know. It's been playing across all of the Magic Kingdom, Bay Lake, Seven Seas Lagoon resorts since October 1st, 1971. And I just adored the combination of the synthesized score
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the very simple lights. And I kind of made it my mission to figure out the music.
Okay.
I struggled because I was 7 and there was no sheet music available for the electrical water pageant. But I was able to at least figure out the opening fanfare, which is from The Little Mermaid originally,
Yeah.
and the songs from Pete's Dragon and Whale of a Tale from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all movies that I ended up watching a little later in life. But I knew the songs first from this. And the next great thing that happened was that my grandmother, knowing this, came home from a garage sale with a video cassette tape of the Main Street Electrical Parade. For their first closure of many at Disneyland, they produced a professional recording of the Main Street Electrical Parade. And of course, I loved the lights and I loved Cinderella. I was a 7-year-old boy,
Sure.
but I, more importantly, was hooked on the song.
Mm-hmm.
The Baroque Hoedown, which
Oh,
wasn't
so
actually written for the parade. It was found by Jack Wagner, who was like the connoisseur of all Disney music and the announcer for a zillion things back in the day. He found that song and produced it for Disney. But I, again, couldn't find the sheet music. That wasn't an easy thing to dig up. So what did I do? I sat down at the piano and figured out dun da da dun 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 da 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 dun dee 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 dee. And my piano teacher discovered this and was amazed.
Huh.
And she, unlike, plenty of other piano teachers who would say, you're not practicing your Beethoven and your Brahms and your Shostakovich, she said, keep working on that too.
Huh.
Keep learning stuff like that. And she brought me arrangements of Disney songs to play. And I was instantly invested in these songs. It was oddly the parks first that really caught my attention. Then the movies later on. Like I grew up with Toy Story. I had a little crush on Jessie when I was 4 years old. When you're 4 years old, you don't know.
That's perfectly natural.
Exactly. She had a lot of spunk. But that was really all that Disney was to me until the theme parks. And the thing that I fell in love with at the theme parks was the music and the immersion. It wasn't about, like this became something I liked, but the first thing I noticed about Disney World was the environments being so unique and so different, and all the cultures represented at EPCOT and at Animal Kingdom, and the glimpses into the future and in the past at Magic Kingdom, things like that, and the quality of entertainment, especially back then where there were musicians basically around every corner. I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved that. So every trip was basically picking up some new detail and coming home with a new song. Walt Disney World did not have the Main Street Electrical Parade at the time. They had Spectro Magic.
Yeah.
So that was the next song I learned. And I kept working on that and kept appreciating Disney from afar, but not seeing it as a career option. As I grew older, I decided I wanted to be a music teacher for a while. And then I figured out I don't have the patience for that. Then I decided I wanted to be a Broadway musician for a while. And then I realized I don't have the personality for that. I'm a little bit too fun, to put it as bluntly as I can. I don't know how to keep my head down well.
I appreciate that.
And it was when I found out that I had been rejected from a Broadway show that the show I was called American Utopia. It was a play with music that I decided, you know what? I should start looking at other avenues again. It was during COVID, actually. And my friend Daniel texted me saying, "Hey, I know you're looking for work. The Disney Wish is opening and they need musicians." And it was 3 days before the audition deadline.
Yeah.
And I threw something together at home in New York and waited and waited. And then I was at the beginning of October of 2021 when I got a phone call from Disney Talent Casting that began like this. It said, "Hey, just so you know, you're the second person that we're calling about this after the cruise director because we want to make sure you will be available to open this ship with us."
Wow.
And I had never worked for Disney before. And of course, I then, was overjoyed, losing my mind, because that was a really cool thing to hear. Like, they might say that to all the girls, but still, I felt really important in that moment and said, wow, it's coming together. It really is. So that was a really interesting experience opening that ship because coronavirus restrictions were still very much in place. And the ship was,
Masks?
yes, the ship was being built. I don't want to reveal too much,
No.
inside baseball here, but
Sure.
it was pretty far behind schedule.
Okay, fair enough.
And that is a well-known fact, is that the ship did get delayed a few times.
Mhm.
And really the only thing that could rehearse were the musicians. But we had, for various reasons, my job expanded from just being a ship piano player that would play piano alone to playing in a band, singing, and then eventually also playing the guitar,
Huh.
which I learned for the job.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So you put together this audition tape. What was the audition tape? What did you have to put on? Was it video? Was it audio? Like what did you have to do in order to kind of get considered?
It was a video. I sent a video. It was a 3-minute video of a medley of 3 songs. I don't remember at this exact moment what the 3 songs were, but I believe they were Uptown Girl by Billy Joel,
Of
The Rainbow Connection from the Muppet Movie,
course.
and some other Disney song. I can't remember what the other
Yeah.
Disney song was, but it was definitely something more up-tempo, but just as good as The Rainbow Connection. It may have been Go the Distance or
Yeah.
Out There, or one of those songs that people love to hear. And it was a great experience, honestly, doing it, getting to open a ship and meet some amazing friends, amazing musicians. I still keep in touch with the band that I played with on the ship. They were wonderful, wonderful people. And one of them still works for Disney Cruise Line. Another one is now a college professor, and her husband plays trombone at Disneyland.
Huh.
It's really cool to know such great people through that. But also, I will say this, and this is a not necessarily everyone would agree with me on this. Working on Disney Cruise Line, and this may be true for cruise lines in general, was difficult for me because, we lived in our very nice but very small cabins downstairs on the ship.
Totally.
And it was great accommodations in a shoebox, essentially. And then we, as musicians, were allowed to take part in a lot of things that guests were able to take part in, but it was very much like Disney everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is more Disney of today, where, you've got the Cinderella themed this and the Inside Out themed this, unlike the Disney of the 80s and 90s, where you'd have a more broad, just classy theme. And it may have been a bit of Disney overkill for me in a sense,
enough.
which I know sacrilege to say that.
It can happen to the best of us, Michael.
Exactly. Which is why I'm very grateful for what happened next.
Yeah.
A friend of mine at the time suggested, when I left the ship, to call Jelly Rolls, the dueling piano bar that was at
Yeah.
Walt Disney World for many years. And I called them, just cold called them, looking for work, saying, "Hey, I'm a piano player. I just played on Disney Cruise Line." Sure enough, I got a phone call the next day that actually there was going to be a vacancy opening up in 3 months, asking me if I could come down and audition.
Yeah.
And I did. And I played for them. I know I played Scenes from an Italian Restaurant by Billy Joel and a couple of other songs of that ilk.
Yeah.
And it was my first dueling pianos experience, and really one of very few that I've had. And they said, "Okay, we're going to have you start in January."
Amazing.
And I played there from I came in October 2022 and November and December for like little test runs while other people were on vacation to make sure that I was comfortable with the job.
Yeah.
And and I was very grateful. Every person that I got to work with in that building was just as great a musician as they were a friend, as they were someone to share the stage with. I was lucky to work with Scotty Kilwine, who had been there since 2003. I also met my friend Charles Fernandez, who joined the team at the same time as me. He's now my best friend.
Oh,
My friend Spencer Shepard, Wyatt Brooks, Jared Rohr, Ken Kruper, all these amazing folks, really like just quality, solid musicians with some Disney knowledge too. But I quickly became the Disney guy.
interesting.
And Sundays were free for cast members to get in. So those days I was usually scheduled for because, you'd have folks who would be working at Living with the Land during the day.
Yep.
And they'd come with a request for the song that plays in the inside part of Living with the Land. And sure enough, I've been collecting all these songs in my head all these years.
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask you, especially for something like the Jelly Rolls. Like now, like people I've seen two kind of dueling piano player musicians. One is the encyclopedic knowledge that you say, play me, scenes from Italian restaurant or the Iron Maiden, the Trooper, or any kind of thing, and you can figure out. And then there's also the iPads. I mean, you can kind of take a second and do it on the iPad. Which one of those would you a combination of both, or is it all repository?
I am now both
Okay.
because my work has changed a lot to the point where I am often a solo act trying
Sure.
to do the work of a dueling piano player.
Yeah.
But at Jelly Rolls, it was all up here.
Amazing.
It
It
was it was really all up here.
d
But that was the benefit of having there were 4 musicians on a night. So if there was a request for something somebody didn't know, the other 2 of us would work on it backstage and then be able to come out and do it. That doesn't happen anywhere that I play now, so I often have to just play it on the spot and hope for the best.
what was the strangest request you ever got that you had to play?
Oh goodness, there were quite a few. I've got my favorite. It was a
Okay.
it was a bachelorette party, and the bride to be had wanted me to make up a song about Pokemon Go. And sure enough, by complete happenstance, that afternoon I was walking from Hollywood Studios to the boardwalk because there's a great walking path. And I decided that afternoon to open up Pokemon Go for the first time in years.
Just like strike of inspiration, like right out
It
of the
was
blue.
the best serendipity
Wow.
ever of that I had a way to write the song. Because I have a friend, she's played at Disney World for many years, a very dear friend of mine, Carol Stein.
Oh, she's
She
an
can
incredible piano player.
She
Yeah.
can a brilliant piano player, great singer, and just jazz legend. She was just inducted into the Orlando Jazz Hall of Fame.
Oh,
She's
amazing.
the best. She, for many years, has written songs about people on the spot and stuff like that. I don't do it like that, but it was really just such an amazing thing to be able to do that for this bachelorette party.
Yeah.
It was hysterical, but there were other funny things like that. Really deep cuts by Billy Joel. Closer to the Heart by Rush was another crazy one.
That's pretty good, actually. Were you able to pull that one off?
Yes, I was. It was not easy.
Good for you.
And what's that song that's like da 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 and other heavy metal songs like that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that stuff,
Yeah.
but it was so cool to learn it and figure out how to make it work on the piano.
What now, would anything ever stump you? Be like, I can't do it.
There would be moments where I would end up having to say no to songs because you can't play them at Walt Disney World. Our rules were a little bit extended because we were a 21 and up venue, but even so, up until midnight, the audio was being pumped to outside.
Ah,
And there was still a level of this is a PG-13 show, which for me is great because I'm a New Yorker. I know those words. I use those words, but I don't necessarily want to say them on stage.
for sure.
I am a family friendly act.
Yeah, yeah.
So a certain song by Cardi B with
Yes,
three
I know
letters in the title
it's funny.
came up a lot.
We went to a really recently went to a dueling pianos in Woodinville, which is wine country here in Seattle, and someone requested it, and I immediately went up and I put $5 so they didn't have to play it.
Good man.
Yeah,
Very good man.
yeah.
It's just one of those songs that doesn't translate well to the piano, but also we cannot play that at Walt Disney World. And people would be like, what? Oh, it's a bar. And then they leave Yelp reviews saying, one star. It's 21 and up. Why couldn't they play my song? But we still wanted to maintain that Disney friendly image. So it was really great. And at the same time that all this was going on, I was still trying to keep my pulse on things going on at Walt Disney World. So when they had an open audition for the Candlelight Processional in 2023,
Yeah.
I submitted my stuff. And it turned out that year, for scheduling and life reasons, I couldn't play the show, but I did attend a rehearsal, which was really cool. I met a couple of folks there. And then the following year, I did get to play the show in 2024. I had one performance, but again, there's folks who've been at Disney for many years. And then I joined the orchestra for the Disney on Broadway shows they have at EPCOT in
Oh, so
January and
good.
February.
So good.
Really,
So
really great shows. And only 5 musicians in that band, but that keyboard 2 player has to carry the world on his shoulders,
Sure.
no matter who it is, because we have to cover all the string parts and horn parts and second guitar and things like that. But getting to work with Broadway talent, names I've known my whole life because I want to be a musical theater musician,
Yeah.
was super cool. So I was really grateful to have that, because then in January 2025, we found out that Jelly Rolls was going to close.
Mhm.
And it was a Disney call. They've been moving away from nightlife for many years. You obviously know about Pleasure Island closing.
Oh,
It
do I?
wasn't.
Yeah.
I missed that entirely, which is really such a shame, because I've heard about, I mean, obviously Carol played at Comedy Warehouse for many years, and I've heard plenty about the Adventurers Club, and those would have been my nighttime homes.
For sure.
Absolutely. But, I understand they have especially pivoted to being a family-friendly product, and the liabilities in this day and get crazy.
Yeah.
So it was understandable, although very upsetting, why Disney no longer wanted Jelly Rolls on property. I got it. And thankfully, within a month of the closure announcement, I got a call from a casting director at Disney saying, "Hey, we heard that Jelly Rolls is closing. We already have you on staff, and I personally really like you. Would you be interested in being a substitute musician at the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review?" Which was crazy to me, because the week before, my fiance and I were just hanging out, and she says, "Hey, you want to go back to Hoop-Dee-Doo soon?" Because,
So
I
much
mean,
ser-
we love the show
so
so
much
much.
serendipity. It's amazing how the
Absolutely.
universe is throwing these things at you.
It was a great, great blessing of a magnitude that I can't understand, because it
Yeah.
quickly became my favorite thing to do at Disney.
Yeah.
So after Jelly Rolls closed, I had to, make do, and I still do have to make do with figuring out other places to work. But it's become very fulfilling in the last year to be working at all these different places. So first was Hoop-Dee-Doo. Then within weeks, I also got a call about the River Roost Lounge, where Yeehaw Bob Jackson has been playing since it opened.
Yeah.
But Yeehaw Bob has acquired a lot of vacation time, and they were looking to have some fresh blood in the sub list. And so I got to do that. I did a private event for Disney Cruise Line for the Disney Destiny. I was part of a display demonstration of what the Corella DeVille piano bar would be like,
Fun.
which was really cool. And I conducted the Disney Legacy Awards in October, which is this great thing that they give out to the most appreciated cast members. This year, we had 2 of our own actually to get the Legacy Award. Esteban, the longtime band leader at Mariachi Cobre, what an incredible guy.
Amazing.
And Grayson, one of the piano players at Casey's Corner,
That's
another
incredible.
awesome guy. 2 just superb talents and really good people.
Yeah.
So I was like, and Carol's gotten in the past, and Kelly Richards from EPCOT, and so many other incredible people. So it was cool to be able to do this whole show for them. I then played the Holidays in Hollywood show at Hollywood Studios with the Muppets. The Muppets, forget about it. Very near and dear to my heart.
Amazing.
Then I started playing at the Rose and Crown Pub at EPCOT. And as of today, May 20th, I am now playing at the Beer Garden restaurant, because I'm also an accordion player. So I've been able to do a lot of cool stuff since Jelly Rolls closed. And I'm hoping when they reopen outside of Disney to also play there, because that was such an important part of my life.
Yeah, what an incredible story. And I just want to go rewind a little bit, because you started playing piano, you figuring stuff out, and I also heard guitar and singing and accordion. So I guess, without modesty, it's like, was there any prodigal level of talent? I mean, were you just a quick study, or was it something that's innately like a gift?
I don't know, and I don't like to toot my own horn too much. I practiced a lot.
Yeah.
I will say I've practiced a ton over the years. My poor fiance has had to deal with me, singing in German randomly from the other room and stuff in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Um, But also, I feel like to some extent I do have a gift, and I'm very thankful for that because I can learn songs really fast at this point. And my new thing is, when I fill in for Yeehaw Bob, especially at Port Orleans, people have been coming there for years
Yeah.
expecting him, years and years. So guests come in and they see me, and
Hey.
sometimes they're nice.
Yeah.
Usually they're a little bit trepidatious at
Yeah.
best and can be downright rude to me at times because I understand. Imagine, you basically feel like this guy's your family member. It's like, great, I'm coming back to see Bob, and he's on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I've done is I've gone around the room and asked everybody before I play a set, hey, what would you like to hear tonight? And unfortunately, due to the fact that it's not Jelly Rolls and I can't go backstage and spend an hour figuring out the songs, I then will have to grab my iPad, find the sheet music, and sight read it
Totally.
for a lot of these tunes. Because it's not just doing piano songs I've been doing, because I probably have about 600 non-Disney songs completely memorized, maybe 700. And then the 400 Disney songs, they'll be asking for an Elton John song I've never heard of. They'll be asking for a song that Bob sings regularly from the 1910s. They'll ask for anything, and I'm alone, so I have to figure it out on my own. So I'm very grateful that I can 97 or 8% of the time figure it out on the spot and get through it.
Which is amazing. And again, I don't want to gloss over the fact that you went to Berklee College of Music. That is not an easy kind of thing to go through. So
No,
talk a bit about
not a cheap thing either, I will say.
and neither one. But so obviously you had to have music. You decided to become a musician. You went to Berkeley. How did that help? Mold you into the musician that you are.
I'll tell you the best thing about Berkeley is that it is, although they don't advertise this necessarily because they want people to come to their school and pay the exorbitant fees, if you can handle it, it is one of the best schools to go to as a musician that wants to work.
Totally.
Because they tell you right off the bat in the first semester, you are probably not going to be a rock star. And I already knew that. I didn't want to be a rock star. My goals have always been raise a family making music and have that family. I don't want to be gallivanting in some other state for more than a couple of days at a time. So, learning what all the different options for my career and how to better myself, to round myself out, but not overextend and say I can do everything. Learn more about theory, learn from people who are still working in the industry, who chose to teach, who getting seminars from brilliant, brilliant musicians over the years. Victor Wooten, one of the best bass players of all time. Alf Clausen, who wrote for The Simpsons for so many years. Livingston Taylor, James Taylor's brother, and James Taylor. And one of the coolest things about it was our graduation concert where we played the music of and for Justin Timberlake. I'm sorry, not Justin Timberlake,
Oh,
Missy Elliott, Alex Lacamoire, and no, Justin Timberlake was the
yeah.
third one. Missy Elliott, Alex Lacamoire, and Justin Timberlake. I know Alex Lacamoire might be a name that stands out. He was the arranger and orchestrator for Hamilton, along with a
Yeah.
lot of other Broadway shows.
Sure.
An idol of mine for many years. Crazy good piano player.
And you talked a little about the musical background, and we started talking a little bit. Like, obviously, you went to Disney World, and you were very inspired by the music there. Who are your other musical influences? I know you mentioned James Taylor was one of them. Who else kind of made you? Who did you listen to that kind of filled your musical cup with joy?
Well, the person who this all goes back to is my father.
Ah,
Not that he wrote any music of it. He actually has written songs of his own that are pretty darn good. But he played guitar while I played the piano in the house my whole life, starting at 4 when I could barely play up
yeah.
until when I was home this past Sunday in New York, and we just played a set of 15 songs.
Mm.
And he'd be like, "Hey, Michael, listen to this. Hey, check this out." And because of that, I have been exposed to music from and played with him songs that date all the way back to the 1930s
Mm.
up until basically last week. But the ones that really stuck with me from usually our musicians of the 60s and 70s, James Taylor is my number one, not my inspiration because I'm not a guitar player, but the musician who I aspire to be. Billy Joel would probably be next on that list. As a New Yorker piano player, you kind of have to be. And not to mention, I just think he's fantastic. I've always loved Carole King, The Carpenters, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, Stevie Wonder. And then more recently, I've had some modern musicians that I've really enjoyed. Chappell Roan and Harry Styles
Oh,
probably are at the front of the pack as
interesting.
far as current musicians.
Yeah, that's quite a dichotomy. But again,
Yeah.
I often get criticized from my family. I'm very much stuck in the 70s, 80s in terms of the music I listen to, and
Mhm.
but
And
every
that's
now and again, I'll be
okay.
like, yeah, every now and again, I'm like, I kind of like this person, and it just blows their minds
Yeah.
if I can actually listen and appreciate someone who's modern.
Well, it's a difficult thing to when you're used to the music that you grow up with,
Yeah.
it becomes, why does it sound different now? I completely get that. And I've always been appreciative of that. And it's a big thing to me when I do dueling piano shows, when I do shows at Disney, to say, hey, I understand if somebody's like, why are you playing that song? To say, hey, I completely get it.
Yeah.
I play plenty of songs I don't like personally, but that's what brings them joy. That's the world that they know. I think the reason why I am so open to all sorts of different music is because I was playing it since I was a kid. Another great act that I've always loved, the Spinners.
Oh, so
They are
good.
incredible. Their song "Games People Play" might be one of the best songs I've ever heard. Christopher Cross, Little River Band. Oh my God, who's that other? Duran Duran. The
Yeah,
Police is a big one for me too. But I will say, I completely understand. My preference stays in the 1970s.
I get it. I get
And
yeah.
I did forget one band that is absolutely essential to me is the Beatles.
I mean, you and yeah, of course, it's so
And me and the rest of the world, it's true.
but
But
it's still, I totally get that. And you said you start on the piano, you start on drums, played piano, but you also sing and you play the accordion and the guitar. And I think I saw a picture of you playing saxophone. How how does it how hard do you have to work to pick those things up? It's not an easy thing to have like all different because you're literally using different tactile and embouchures and everything to learn how to play all these things.
well, I'll tell you this much: it is not easy.
No.
It is not. But I will say I have different skill levels with different instruments.
Mm,
My main four, that if you said, "Hey, Michael, we need a sub in this band tomorrow," would be the piano and keyboards, drums and percussion across
mm,
everything,
uh,
accordion, and then the basses, upright bass and electric bass.
yeah,
Probably not in that order. Bass would probably be before drums. But those are the things that I can probably, it's not going to be like, whoa, this is the best bass player of all time or something
yeah,
like that. But where I could sit in and be comfortable. Then probably next down the line would be saxophone and guitar.
yeah.
Instruments that I know and I know what to do, but I usually have to figure out my parts before I go. You can't just throw me in on those. And then I have some experience playing trumpet as well, which, talk about an instrument you cannot be thrown in on. You
That was
really, really can't.
that was my high school before I started playing guitar, trumpet was my instrument, and it was, I was okay, but it is not it's a easy instrument to sound bad on. It's very hard to
It
sound
very much is.
yeah.
I was in a situation where a friend of mine couldn't make a performance of the musical Heathers in college,
Oh, yeah.
and no one was available, so I had to play the trumpet part. I made it through the first 40 minutes of the show okay, and then the rest of the show was just like I had to pick places to just not play, pick things to play down the octave, and there were certain things where I flew a little bit too close to the sun, and it was like,
Yeah.
but it's all a matter of being clear about what you can do. Like, yes, on my business cards, there are pictures of me playing guitar and saxophone. But if anybody asks me to play saxophone or guitar for anything, I will say, hey, that's totally fine. You can definitely find somebody better, just so you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But when I'm already playing a gig that I'm playing piano for, like for musicals, there are a decent number of parts, like Rent the musical.
Yeah.
The second keyboard part also plays second guitar.
Mm,
It's meant for a keyboardist who can also play guitar. So great book for me. I've played it a couple of times.
yeah.
I've done that for a couple of musicals. The Wild Party, not super long ago. But it you have to be honest about what you can do and genuinely put in the time to get there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I wish I could say I play everything, but I certainly don't. String instruments beyond guitar and bass, no.
No, but
No.
it's still it's a pretty healthy portfolio you have, and,
Yeah.
going back to the Disney music itself, just curious, which Disney songs mean the most to you? I guess which ones mean the most to you personally? Which ones do you like to play the most?
I will say one of the this isn't I guess this isn't originally a Disney song, but it has become a part of the Disney
Yeah,
portfolio through acquisitions, is the song "I'm Going to Go Back There Someday" from the Muppet movie
For sure, of
that
course. Yeah,
that
yeah, of
Gonzo
course.
sings,
Yeah.
trying to figure out where he belongs and what his place is in the world. And I every time I sing that, I get a little bit misty eyed because
Ah,
it's really heavy and not sad, but wistful. And he's learning. And I had a lot of trouble in school making friends. And I actually chose to be homeschooled for high school because I
mm,
had a difficult social life, just difficulty relating to people. It
yeah,
worked out in the end,
yeah.
but whenever I hear that song, I don't get to play it much because I usually play by request. It really it speaks volumes to me. I've got a couple other songs I really like to do. Not in Nottingham from Robin Hood.
Oh, sure.
I'm actually wearing my Robin Hood shirt today.
Cool.
Um, Anything from Beauty and the Beast or The Princess and the Frog, those are my two favorite Disney movies. Out There and Go the Distance, both are. I love Hunchback of Notre Dame and I like Hercules too, but those two songs in particular really make people very emotional, which is crazy. From the theme parks, I have a medley that I do now of all of the nighttime parades. Paint the Night, Fantalusion from Tokyo and Paris. What else do I do? Spectrum Magic, Main Street Electrical Parade, Starlight, the new parade that always makes me cry every time I see it.
Mhm.
People love Happily Ever After, and I like
Yeah, I
Happily
do.
Ever After
I do
too.
too. Yeah. It's a great song.
Fantasmic, but maybe one of the ones that and I actually weirdly have a recent fixation on Home on the Range.
Oh, interesting.
And the yodeling song from that always people are always very surprised if I pull that one out. But the one that I think really has done the most for me in terms of being at the crossroads of people like it and I feel fulfilled by it is We Go On from Illuminations Reflections of Earth.
Yeah. That's great. That's a good one.
That's a really powerful song, and Illuminations is still my favorite fireworks show I've ever seen. Happily Ever After would probably be second, but for what I like in a fireworks show, it's a distant second. Illuminations just had something about it that was really special.
And that's actually a good follow-up question. So maybe a little more philosophically or musically, what do you think? You play a lot of Disney music. It obviously has emotional impact on you, clearly has emotional impact on your audience. What is it about Disney music that makes it so emotionally resonant and powerful?
Disney music, more than any other kind of music, is about unifying people,
Mm.
is about bringing people together. That is why I do music in the first place. I could make more money doing other things. In theory, I do make good money as a Disney Union musician. We are very well taken care of. But I could be in another field. But as a chronic people pleaser, I'm glad I'm in music and the music that makes the most people happy because it connects them to points in their life, whether it's their childhood, their adulthood, or anywhere in between, raising children, going through college. There's a song for everything in Disney. I'd say some of the most powerful of those are like Almost There and Dig a Little Deeper from The Princess
Totally.
and the Frog. They may not be tear jerkers, but they make you feel like, yeah, you think about what you can do with your life when you hear a song like that. There's beauty in almost all of it. And then
Yeah.
there's a song like the Yodel song from Home on the Range that's just downright goofy and ridiculous. But there's so much power in this catalog, and especially in the music of Alan Menken and his lyricists like Howard Ashman and Stephen Schwartz. Just Around the River Bend and Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas have always hit me. Colors of the Wind is one of my favorites to do. And then some of the music from the Pixar and Muppet movies and John Williams scores for Star Wars too. I'm not a Star Wars fan particularly, but I just watched the documentary about him on Disney Plus,
Oh, man. Oh, my
and
God. It was so good. It was so
he's a
good.
monster, one of the best and most humble people in the world. But the way that the orchestrations too, that's another heavy thing, and that's something I try my best to replicate on just the piano. But what Danny Trube did for Beauty and the Beast and for Pocahontas and for Aladdin, he was Alan Menken's, and he still is Alan Menken's main orchestrator, and Newsies as well, is just unmatched. It's absurd how well the French horns, every instrument's part isn't ever that, especially in the original animated versions, isn't ever like crazy elaborate and over the top. It's complicated, but simple enough that we can still understand and pick out all the individual parts. And I appreciate that dignified accessibility that Disney music, particularly in the 90s and late 2000s, had, but also true for Cinderella and for Peter Pan and for even the Rescuers, that song Someone's Waiting for You.
Yeah.
There's something, and Candle on the Water from Pete's Dragon. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling at this point,
No, it's just,
but
but it shows you how powerful it is. It totally makes sense. And I was saying from your end, you get to be literally the front line. You are the person, everyone hears the music. Hearing it live hits you different, right? And
yeah,
you get to play it and have people experience it through unencumbered and unfiltered by anything. How does it feel to
yeah.
play and be able to convey that emotion to people who obviously it means so much to them?
It's unique.
Yeah.
It's a unique phenomenon. I've said a few times, I am probably, like, I was just on the Rock and Roller Coaster version with the Muppets the other day. I am one of the only piano players in the world, probably, that's a singing piano player that has made more money off the Rainbow Connection than off Aerosmith in total.
Yeah.
But it's like, yes, I'm glad that I'm making money. Of course, that's very important to me,
Yeah.
is to raise a family, to be able to live the life that I want to live, to be able to take my fiance to Topolino's Terrace at the Riviera
That
and not
place
think twice about it.
that place is good.
That's where we went for our first date. I was swinging for the
Good for you.
fences, and
Holy smokes.
she stuck around, which is
Hey,
amazing.
sounds like it.
She's incredible, really, really wonderful girl. But to be able to be the person that's like the conduit between these things. Of course, it'd be cooler to them and it'd be cooler to me, frankly, if they could see Susan Egan singing "I Won't Say I'm in Love," or Roger Bart singing "Go the Distance," Tom Hulce doing "Out There,"
Yeah.
Keith David doing "Friends on the Other Side."
Yeah.
But at a Walt Disney World vacation, I am sometimes the closest thing,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like, no, I don't mean this with any disrespect to the Main Street Marching Band or Neil, Grayson, and Jeremy at Main Street, but they're doing the thematically appropriate versions of those songs, which are fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I just saw this video of Neil Kern. He's one of the piano players on Main Street doing a medley of songs from Mary Poppins. I'm like, how does it move that fast?
Yeah.
But they don't sing there. I sing Feed the Birds. When I did it at Jelly Rolls, when I do it at River Roost and Rose and Crown, I also play at the Boathouse, and I just did it a couple of weeks ago at Disney Springs. And the way that those lyrics connect by Richard and Robert Sherman on that song, for instance, another one of the best Disney songs I forgot to mention. Wow, like I'm a good singer, but the way that song itself just has the power to make people feel things, I couldn't write anything like that. So I feel incredibly honored to be one of the people that gets to sing it for the guests who pay a lot of money to be here. I want to give them the best I possibly can.
It's true, and, it's funny, you mentioned Neil and Grayson, it's like, there's almost become a bit thanks to the internet and thanks to all the socials, there's some cult status now, so and you said
Yeah.
it as well, like, there's visibility for you and the other musicians. I've seen you playing with Neil and, obviously Grayson does all the crazy technical stuff. It's really becoming like, do you get recognized a lot? It's like, "Oh my god, it's Michael." Like, do people know who you are because of this newfound fame?
It happens here and there.
Yeah.
And it's a funny phenomenon. It used to happen more when Jelly Rolls was open because
Yeah.
that was consistent, but it still does happen. A lot of what I do now, because I'm basically somewhere different almost every day, a lot of what I do now isn't as guest facing
Mm.
necessarily. Like, Hoop-Dee-Doo is a arranged show and the piano player sits facing the show because I'm sort of the conductor for the whole thing. And at Beer Garden, I'm one of the guys in the band. And same thing with Candlelight Processional, Disney on Broadway. And Rose and Crown's kind of out of the way. River Roost is probably, and Boathouse are probably the places I'm most recognized for.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is interesting. It's like this incredibly low level of celebrity. I do not do this for attention. I do this because I enjoy it and because it's a really cool way to make a living. But I'm not against the attention. It's always cool. My fiance is a PhotoPass photographer at Magic Kingdom, and we're not shy about our relationship on social media. I love her like nobody's business.
Of course.
But so I post about her on my social media here and there. And she was working one day And there were these two separate couples within the span of 10 minutes that said, "Hey, you're Michael Mastroianni's fiance." And sure enough, we were at EPCOT the next day.
Yeah.
And one of those couples, it was a mother and a daughter, came up to us and were like, "And there he is,"
Oh, it's so
which was
sweet.
crazy, but it
Yeah.
was awesome. And a really important thing to me is remembering the names of my guests. If I see them frequently,
Yeah.
is if they're return visitors, I want to know who they are. Not in like not in a creepy way. I want to make
In a
them
Disney
feel
way. It's a
welcome.
very Disney guest
Yeah.
thing to do.
It's important to me, and
Yeah.
I've made some great friends that way, legitimately, and then some other folks who I know who will be like, "Hey, Michael, when are you playing at this place next? I'd love to come see you at Hoop-Dee-Doo." And I'm like, "That's a lot of money for a show where you can't see me," but it's also one of the best shows ever.
Sure.
So I will always recommend it to people whether I'm playing there or not, because it's genuinely entertaining to me. I've probably played there now 100 shows ish. Granted, I'll probably by the end of my life it'll be in the tens of thousands, but
God
it's
willing, knock
still
on wood.
entertaining. It's still entertaining to me at this point. But the other day I was in Hollywood Studios. I just went there because I had a day mostly free. I wanted to go for a walk, and this couple came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, we saw you at the River Roost. We want you to take over for Yeehaw Bob when he retires." I'm like, "Don't put that out there. Yeehaw Bob should retire when he's good and ready. He's
Yeah.
phenomenal." But that is an incredibly kind thing to
Yeah,
hear.
of course it is.
And I will say, one of the most interesting things that happened to me, and I'm going to be careful about how I phrase this.
Yeah.
I was at a Moonlight Magic event. I'm not a DVC member, but I was at a Moonlight Magic event with my friends and their mom, who is a DVC member. And we waited to meet Darkwing Duck and Launchpad McQuack.
Huge.
And big fan of DuckTales. And I also like Darkwing Duck quite a bit. And it was around when Jelly Rolls was closing. And Launchpad, as I was about to walk away, tapped me on the shoulder and goes like this.
Oh, get out of here.
And it was really cool. And another similar event happened. Again, I have to be careful.
Yeah.
At the Not So Scary Halloween party this past year. My fiance and I dressed
I was
as
there actually. I actually, from the first time I ever went was this year.
it's out of the events that you can get tickets to. I would say it's the most worthwhile.
So great.
Except for, although I have a personal preference for Jollywood Nights because I play there.
Of course.
But we met, my fiance and I were dressed as Scotty and Franny from Meet the Robinsons, the parents,
Yeah.
Louis when he's older, and
I love
Franny, the frog choir conductor. Little Wonders, another Disney song, makes everybody
Amazing
cry,
song.
especially my mom.
Yeah.
And we met Ariel and Prince Eric. And Ariel says, Ariel said, I've been thinking you look like somebody who would be a great fit with Sebastian's band. And then I was like, "No kidding. What gave you that? What gave you that impression?" And she said, "I don't know. I heard something from the Jellyfish when they rolled on over." And I was like,
Oh, that's funny.
"Who told you this, Ariel? Why do you know this?"
Funny. That's so
We
clever.
really enjoyed that, and it was just I'm a big character fan. I if I ever see a character that's off the beaten path at Disney, I will go and meet them. I'm a sucker for that stuff.
It's the greatest.
Yeah, we just ran into Pinocchio and Geppetto at Hollywood Studios. I grabbed my fiance and said, "Nuh-uh, we're getting in line right now."
Pinocchio
She
is a good
supports
get.
this behavior.
Pinocchio is a good get. We were on a cruise when my daughter was 3 gazillion years ago, and Pinocchio was on, like, pushing kids out of the way so we can get a picture with Pinocchio.
I get it. I get it. I was on the way back from the Soarin' Over America preview, and I saw Bruno across the way, and I
Oh.
called my fiance, who was not with me at that time, and I was like, "Should I go meet Bruno?" And she said, "Yes. When is that going to happen again, Michael?"
Of course that's right. Of course that's right.
But that's a tangent like nobody's business. But it is a really cool thing to be recognized for what I do. But I will say it is not something that my world revolves around. And sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable because there are guests that will come and film us a lot or post us on their social media a lot, and I feel like, hey, I don't know how I feel about this, but it might just be me not being used to that because I wanted to be a Broadway musician, somebody who's really important to the equation that you can't do the job without, but you can walk out that stage door and nobody knows who you are.
For sure.
So it's a little bit, not that I'm an extrovert overall, but I like the idea of being there and just supporting what's happening.
Totally get it. And I'll ask you one more question because you mentioned it. New Soren and new Muppets. It sounds like you were on them. Quick takes if you can. What do you think of?
Ooh,
Yeah.
oh baby, oh baby. I was very impressed. I
Yeah.
was very impressed. Soren, I would say it doesn't quite match up to the original California Soren, but it is darn close.
Yeah.
It is darn close. And it was really cool to get to see things like Mount Rushmore and the Louisiana Bayou and Griffith Observatory and all that stuff. And the music was done very well.
Bruce Broughton, I
Um,
think. Bruce Broughton
yeah,
rearranged. Yeah. He's amazing.
using those Jerry Goldsmith themes
Yeah.
once again that are incomparable. And then Rock and Roller Coaster. I mean, again, I'm biased. I love the Muppets,
I love the Muppets too.
but I will tell you right now, Scooter is the most realistic animatronic I've seen in my life.
Wow.
I've been in rooms with the actual Muppets. I saw them at Carnegie Hall and of course the show at Jollywood Nights. But Scooter was just like, you walk up to that glass and see him moving and like, yeah, it's an animatronic from a couple, like, because
Yeah.
but wow, what a crazy thing. And all the Muppets memorabilia and props, it was obviously done with tons of love, heaping tons of love. And I'm still not bitter, but I'm still very sad about the loss of Muppet Vision 3D.
Yeah.
That was a pilgrimage for us for many years.
Oh.
But then again, we've had other things at Hollywood Studios that I felt that way about. The Great Movie Ride,
Yes, of course.
that was just as difficult a loss for me. And what was the other thing in recent memory that I could think of that I was like, wow, I'm going to miss that a lot? Dinosaur from Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, of course.
But
Yeah.
I will say, in the name of progress, this was not a replacement for Muppet Vision 3D at all,
No.
but it was a just as cool in a completely different way thing. Couldn't have been done with more love if they tried, given that it's putting it onto an existing ride, seeing new animatronics, old animatronics, props that are long forgotten from old Muppet shows and things. One of the great things about Josh D'Amaro, the new CEO, I've actually met him a few times over the years at
He's an
various
impressive
different
guy.
things.
Yeah.
He is a great guy
Yeah.
and he really likes the Muppets,
Yeah. No, I did not
which
know that.
is super cool.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Uh,
me feel great.
What song did you have on your ride?
We rode twice. We had Walking on Sunshine and then we had Born to be Wild.
So it's so good. It's so good.
What a day, man.
So good.
What an incredible day.
That's great. Well, listen, I can speak to you all day, but I know it's later over on the East Coast. But, in addition to where people can find you in Disney, where can they find you online? How can they follow you? How can they find out what you're up to?
Ooh, I am pretty present on social media. I have a handle. I actually chose this for my email address when I was like 7 years old or even younger than that. It is MASTROMJM, the first half of my last name and my initials.
Perfect.
And it's mastromjm.com, at mastromjm on Instagram and on TikTok. As often as I have the time, I try to post a song a day on TikTok. I haven't had the time much lately because things have been a little bit crazy, but my most recent post was on Sunday. I know I'm slacking, but it was Energy, You Make the World Go Round from the
good
original Universe of Energy ride at Disney. I've put video game songs up there, Billy Joel songs, pop songs, videos from me playing at all these places at Disney. It's been pretty cool. And yeah, that's basically a one size fits all for me.
Perfect.
I stuck with that from then.
It's still there. I will make sure I put it in our show notes so people can find you as well. And
I would
like
love
said,
that.
It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. Maybe I'll meet you in Walt Disney World in person one day.
I would love that.
And anytime anything new happens, always welcome to have. Would love to chat with you again. Thanks so much for coming on. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a blast.
I'll talk to you.
Take
Good luck
care.
with everything.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Ray, let's rock and roll. You show us everything you got. You keep on dancing and the room gets hot. You drive us wild.
Well, thanks again to Michael Mastroianni for joining us and sharing his stories being on the front line of the musical guest experience. Please see him play the next time you're in Walt Disney World. You can also follow him online at mastromjm.com and on all socials at mastromjm. I'll put that information in the show notes so you can check him out. And now on to Disney music news for this week. First thing I wanted to talk about was the Rock and Roller Coaster music. As the updated Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets has been in previews and is about to open on May 26th, we've learned a little bit about the background music in the courtyard. And we already knew the 5 songs that will be included as part of the ride itself when you're actually in the ride vehicle as part of the attraction. But adding to the whole experience, there is now a background music track consisting of 33 songs, which blends classic and contemporary rock with several Electric Mayhem originals woven throughout. So there are 4 songs performed by Electric Mayhem in the background music, and they are Believe in Us, Rock On, Mayhem, and one that's near and dear to my heart, Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. And I might have mentioned the last time we talked about the 5 songs that are going to be played on the actual ride. I thought it was a missed opportunity not to include the classic party song Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. I'm a huge Kiss fan. So I was a little bit humbled and a little bit disappointed in myself that I did not realize that this cover existed. Is actually a part of the Disney Plus Electric Mayhem series. When in episode 4, apparently there is a performance when Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem played Rock and Roll All Night. That's actually what you heard at the very beginning of this segment. So it makes me very, very happy that that's a part of the ride. And it also makes me very, very happy that it actually exists. So in addition to those 4 Electric Mayhem songs, some other examples of those classic and more modern rock tunes are We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's, New Year's Day by U2, Higher by Creed, Photographed by Def Leppard, Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne, Who Knew by Pink, More by The Warning, Hard to Explain by The Strokes, Barracuda by Heart, Limelight by Rush, I Wanna Rock by Twisted Sister, and a couple of others, but you get the idea. A really nice blend of solid rock and roll music that fits, I think, very well within the theme of what the ride is trying to present. So if you are lucky enough to be a DVC pass holder or an annual pass holder and you've had a chance to check it out, or you'll be there this week, please do drop me a line. Let me know what you think of the whole musical experience on the ride. I can't wait to hear about it, and eventually I can't wait to experience it myself. And I guess keeping with the theme of background music, there's also been news about the loop for the newly reimagined Walt Disney Studios animation courtyard at Hollywood Studios, and that's still in the process of being opened. That's kind of like where The Little Mermaid is, the musical part is going to be. They're having a new kind of Walt Disney Studios animation courtyard there, but within the actual courtyard itself, there's background music track release. This includes, again, a large collection, about 38 new recordings and arrangements of classic as well as more modern Disney songs. There's a video that came out, and Brett Swain, who's the senior creative director of music at Walt Disney Imagineering, he was quoted as saying, "Background music is such a powerful storytelling tool because it really sets you in the environment. Sound effects and music helps to guide our guests through spaces, and we do that by using various tempos and by using various effects." So with that in mind, there's been new recordings specifically for this courtyard of a huge amount of Disney songs. It goes everything from Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride from Lilo and Stitch to Hakuna Matata from The Lion King, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins, We Know the Way from Moana, maybe more of a deeper cut like On My Way from Brother Bear, Everyone Wants to Be a Cat from The Aristocrats, down in New Orleans from The Princess and the Frog, Try Everything from Zootopia, Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas, For the First Time in Forever from Frozen, and so many more, but you get the idea. I kind of love the fact that these are all being re-recorded in various types of tones and tempos to kind of help guide the journey. So I am very curious to check out this new animation courtyard. Again, if you happen to be at Hollywood Studios checking out the Rock and Roller Coaster, if you walk by, would love to hear your thoughts about that. And also, kind of putting two new pieces of news together. There's been a couple of new streaming albums from attractions that are out now. First is Soaring Over America. There's currently previews at EPCOT, the new Soaring Across America, which is a celebration of America's 250th birthday celebration, which, by the way, the fancy word for that, if you don't know, is semi-quincentennial. And this is the third iteration of the popular attraction. So there was Soarin' Over California, the original. There was recently Soarin' Over the World, and now Soarin' Over America. It takes guests across various American landmarks and scenery, from the Statue of Liberty and Mount Rushmore to the Hollywood sign in LA and the bayous of Louisiana. Now, the updated soundtrack to the attraction, once again composed by Disney Parks composer Bruce Broughton, who, spoiler alert, we're very fortunate, will be joining us in the next few weeks to talk about his work on it. And this, from the familiar soaring theme, which was originally composed by Jerry Goldsmith, is featured throughout. But this time, Bruce puts in different stylings, like a Cajun vibe for the Louisiana scene or a tropical vibe for the Hawaiian scene. The soundtrack features the main theme as well as a slightly different version dubbed the Chamber Orchestra. Both run for about 4 minutes and 42 seconds. As you might know from our last conversation, Bruce has composed a number of other attraction scores over the years, including Spaceship Earth, Elm's Energy Adventure, The Timekeeper, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and many more. The attraction opens up May 26th at Walt Disney World and July 2nd at Disneyland. And we're very excited to have Bruce on to chat about it in the next few weeks. And in a similar vein, the soundtrack for the recently refreshed Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin is also now streaming and includes 5 tracks composed by Mike Rubino, capturing the intergalactic adventure of Buzz, the Liberty Men, and of course, Emperor Zurg. The album consists of 4 tracks: Star Command, Outer Space to Planet Z, Zurg's Domain, Hyperspace to Zurg's Capture, and Squeaky Toy City. The music mirrors the attraction's updated storyline and environments, taking listeners on a musical journey from Star Command headquarters through deep space and into Zurg's territory before returning triumphantly to Toy City. So both Soarin' Over America and Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, check them out on your favorite streaming service. And that is Disney Music News for this week. That is it for this episode of the Music Behind the Magic podcast. Thanks again to Michael Mastroianni for joining us, and thanks to all of you, as always, for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen. This episode is being released on Memorial Day, and I hope everyone had a good long weekend as summer officially begins. But I also just want to take a moment to reflect on the spirit of the holiday and pay respects to the servicemen and servicewomen and their families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to protect this country and what we hold dear. But as summer's underway, I hope there is some kind of Disney magic in your plans, and I hope you will tell us about it. With that, I'm looking forward to speaking again soon. But in the meantime, as always, have a magical